Hey, I'm Scotty, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you 3 simple steps to improve your urban sketching, especially in an intimidating and complex scene just like this. So how do we best approach this complex scene to break it down into some simple steps? So our first step is to work out the composition. So we've got to plan how we put that image on our page. So what I think will be really helpful is if we draw a border for us to fit the image in and plan the sketch, because I don't want this urban sketching scene to go right to the edge of the page. So first of all, let's draw a line at the top and then come down. Let's draw a line down here. It's okay if it's wobbly, that adds to the character. See how I did a wobble there down this side here? Now I'm looking at the middle of the page, so just wobbled through there. Now to make a scene interesting, we usually need a focal point. So I recommend that this focal point here of the tower could be moved slightly across to there. That will mean that the focal point will be more in one of the thirds. So if you go across from the total width about a third across, then that would be a great place to put our focal point. So what I'm going to do here, about a third across and about a third down, a little dot there. It doesn't have to be perfectly there. I might bring it just a little bit to the left there to give us space for the ocean. But I don't think I'll need this building here. What I'm going to do is go around this, give it a sort of a nice interesting line here to finish off this. Instead of a straight line, we're going to use that silhouette of those bottom buildings, but bring it up a little bit and not have that building in there. Okay, so let's just start here, and we're going around this sort of bush tree here, holding our pen loosely, coming down across, and it doesn't even have to match it exactly, it just has to have an interesting line. There's chimneys here, and then we go up to this roof. There's something there, it goes back down. Now we have a frame, sort of a framework for this whole complex scene to fit in. And we know that's where about the tower is. It will go up here, but that bell, the bell and the bell tower could be about there. Okay, so that's step number 1, forming our composition. So we're planning before we start. So the second step to consider is perspectives. So what we have here is the reference image, and I've toned down the opacity so that I can sketch on top. Where is the horizon line on this image? Well, there is actually literally a horizon there, so we know that this line here is the horizon line. I'll just put an H there. So we can see here, all the lines that are closest to that horizon are pretty much flat. So the line here, that's pretty much flat. And then as we get down here, there's a line there I can see. It's slightly fanning out just over the top of those houses there. You can see it's just subtle, and then here it's getting a bit steeper, even steeper, and then over here where the houses are there, you can see how the angle is becoming steeper and steeper, and that will create that feeling of depth. Okay, so the third and most important step here when we're setting up this sketch is to break down this scene into the big shapes. So with this scene here, I'm going to put on the screen the shapes that I'm going to be looking at, and we're going to sketch them together. So, but we'll start here at the top. So I still want my building to come down here and a bell tower to be about there. There's a little cross on the top of and we're going down and around this building. Could be that I have to adjust the building and change it, but I'm not looking for exactly a realistic representation here. We're still being a little bit impressionistic. So we're going down here. So I think it would look good if we break this distance into 3. I reckon that bottom section, the bottom third should be the houses down there. So let's go down like that. And then we can come down on the other side of this tower. And the roof of this tower comes to approximately there. Sometimes if you don't put a dot as you're drawing these main shapes, you can end up going up here somewhere. It's going up and making some wiggles every now and again, just to add to the looseness, and down here. Okay, so then we've got this shape here. Okay, so the next shape here, as we talked about that perspective, this is where it really comes in. If I was to draw this without considering that and just going for it, I would actually draw it straight. It wouldn't look as good. And I'm going to include this side of the building as well here. So it sort of comes in about there, and that'll show, because that's really important for that shadow. So let's start here. We'll just put a little line like this, and it comes down, and then that was the top of the buildings there, so it'd come down to about there. The actual building might come down there, but let's go Now I'm just going around these roughly, and I'm aiming up this way. So all the roofs, like this one this way, aiming up this way. I can go up a bit further if I need to, like that, and I'm sticking out here and then coming down. Okay, just down. I love this huge tree. Let's draw that. So that's the next shape. It comes in around there. And the next shape I'm going to do is this one here. So it's not going to be flat, but it's going to just have a slight angle to it. Showing those shapes there, like that. And so now we're going to draw that horizon line. So it can be, try and make it parallel to this line. Thin over here, thicker as it goes across, and I'm trying to make the line thinner. And just the last shape that we want to break up is, I'll make another line here for this building here. Break up these forms there. So going from the composition to working out the perspective and now putting in those main areas, that gives us a lot more confidence in putting the details in. So with these 3 simple steps, you can break down a complex scene really easily. Okay, so now onto the details. So we can further break down these main shapes. So if I focus on this building here, so we can go down like this, like that. I might start on this side and then come down this side, so it's the same. There's another line there. It's not exactly right there, but gives you the idea. And we can go add a little line. Okay, and then we have the circle window. And put another one in the inside. Now I'll look at the bell tower. Window here. There's a bell inside. That. And on the other side. And it has some ledges here. And we'll just put in the windows. We're not going to put all this detail, all the bricks and everything. Just some really simple details here. Now right in the middle, if we put the windows in the middle here, then we can go out from there and add the rest of the windows. Well, there is a line across like this. That one in first. Definitely not going to put in all of those details there. But then the top ones are just following the angles that I've done already. If that looks okay. And then come across and we've got this window here. Like this, and then the window there. This window here is a bit shorter. And we'll just do the rooftops like this. This one's at this angle, and then down here like this. So we have this roof down here, comes like this. And keep our line work really nice and loose. And then we have a second roof fitting in there. Let's see if we can squeeze that in. Just getting the basic shapes of all these buildings. Okay, then we're coming to this section here, and this is where, because we've got the main details, I'm not so concerned about the accuracy of all this. And in some way, I'm not even worried if it doesn't match the actual reference. Just following certain lines as I look back at the reference, and some miss out. Maybe we'll add a detail here, this bush here, but we'll make it quite big like that. We'll add 4 windows here. Okay, and we've got 2 windows on this one. Looking back and seeing if we have enough detail. Because it's close to this point up here where the focal point is, we could add in some lines like this. So we're going to add a very light wash to this. And I have my round 6 brush, my Winsor & Newton watercolors. You can see the set in the description of all the things I'm using. So we're going to start with using turquoise. Okay, so we want some nice clean strokes here. It can be slightly overlapping some of the lines, and then bringing that down. For the sky, I need a different blue, and this is cerulean blue. So this is a bit more pale, the sky. So you can see that, even if that was a very light ultramarine. Now, the next most important color we have here is burnt sienna. We can even add in a splash of red. So I've got, this is alizarin crimson. Okay, we're going to go over all the sections that have that, just in broad strokes. So once again, we're working from big shapes to little shapes. Bit of the roof is here. Then across these ones, one roof. And then there's a lot going on up here. I've been thinking about the tree a lot. I don't want to make it bright green. Get a Payne's grey and a little bit of Viridian green. So it's not a bright green. Place it in that spot there. It's a bit down here. The next thing I want to do is the windows. So we can use a bit of ultramarine and then Payne's grey. Not too much because the windows are so small. Just some windows every now and again. Oh, I missed one of the roofs. Okay, so now we want to add in some shadows. There's some beautiful shadows here in this area and here, and that would be great for this reference. I'm going to use ultramarine, and then let's add some purple, dioxazine purple. We're just changing the color there, and maybe a slight bit, just a little bit of Payne's grey. It goes down across here. And now we can bring that down. We also have a really nice shadow here. So these shadows will help these front buildings stand out. A nice shadow's here, so we can exaggerate the shadow against this building, following the leaves and branches there. And then that shadow falls across this whole part of the town. Okay, now we have our very light layer. We're going to go in to add a bit more detail with some stronger color. So we'll go turquoise again, and now we're having a bit more saturation here. We're trying to imitate those lines in the water. Might need a little bit more saturation. And then we can also add some texture with splatters. So we get our brush now, a lot more saturation in that burnt sienna. So now on some of these angled roofs we can add just a little bit more. Just like this. And then the trees, but now let's get our Viridian green, a little bit in there. And now I can add just, I think that shadow here just needs to be slightly darker. So, okay, and then from there, let's see if a bit of paint platters, also, I'm just playing here. Okay, just that little bit more detail, a little bit more contrast. Okay, we've got a Uniball Posca pen with a fine tip, and you have to give these a good shake so that the paint's opaque. So what I can do is add a little white line on the top here to bring that up, to make it seem like it's in front of this shadow. So these are the kind of edges that are really important. So I can do lines like that. So I want this to stand out amongst the ocean. Dots and glints in here for highlights. So same here, there might be some light in those windows shining. So having shared those 3 simple steps to constructing and planning a sketch like this, do you feel more confident when sketching a reference like this? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. But if you really want to improve your urban sketching faster, I recommend joining my Patreon, where you can sketch along in real time using the reference. So I have the reference there and any templates to download. I've also got extra content as I explain things a little bit more in depth. And I try and address things in the tutorial from the comments I get from my poll at the beginning of the week, where patrons get to choose the reference that I sketch. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.